Welcome to the sideshow. If you like what you're seeing, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Okay, if you've been following the build, you know that I switched from purple and green to orange and green. That has a lot to do with the color wheel. If you know anything about the color wheel, the color just opposite of green on the color wheel is red. And so the two colors opposite of that, next to that, are either orange or purple. And I have a tendency to do that when I'm looking at mixing and matching colors on a car. I like to go with a color opposite on the opposite side of the color wheel so that there's a good contrast for it. And that's why I was looking at either purple or orange. The purple was too dark. The orange I think is going to work a lot better. And it does seem to be going that way. In any case, where I'm at right now is I want to get the entire drivetrain in place because of the front end here, which is actually off of the paddy wagon. And I was going to use the engine from the paddy wagon, but decided to go ahead and just use parts of the engine of the paddy wagon and go ahead and use the block from the Circus Wagon. And that was actually kind of a dumb idea because while the engine is exactly the same, well, it's not exactly the same. It has different little mounting points and everything else. The engine mounts for the body between the paddy wagon and the Circus Wagon are exactly the same, so that isn't a problem. But the mounts for everything else are slightly off. And if you've noticed, I've had to file this down, the radiator hose, but that wasn't because it wouldn't have fit. It's mainly because we have a different radiator in place inside the paddy wagon's front. I'm going to have to do some trimming around that too. So I had to file that down because this is thicker than what would have been there before, because there was nothing there before. It was just molded in place in the front here. So I will trim that around and everything, get it nice and looking nice. But by sanding this down a little bit, I've solved the problem with the radiator now being thicker. And then what I've done is I've done some putty work on the front of the engine here, so I'll be doing a lot of touch-up work on it. But I think it's going to work out pretty good once it's done. And what I want to do is get the entire drivetrain in place, get the wheels on and everything, and then I will probably end up straightening the frame if it needs to be straightened, using the old warm it up with a hair dryer, and then put a little weight on it so that it will sit flat. So that's my next steps on this. When I've got that done, I will continue on with this video. Okay, so what I've done is I've attached the wheels, got the all the drivetrain in place and everything. And what I've done basically is while the drivetrain is gluing and everything, I've added some weight to the body so that I can force it down and make sure that the drivetrain will be sitting flat on the ground. Hopefully that is not going to twist the body and make everything else, such as the cage, crooked. We will find out. I don't think it should. It hasn't in the past, but it might. And as you can tell, I've got the green and orange going, and I gotta tell you, I'm kind of liking that a whole lot more than the green and purple. So once I get all that painted and get the copper back in place on there, I think it's going to look a whole lot better than it did with the green and purple. And just to tie it all in with the dragon, I figured give the dragon an orange belly and then orange fins going along there. And so once the orange dries for a day, I will do like I did with the green on the dragon and give it a coating of gold on the orange also. So the dragon will get dry brushed with gold across the orange, like he has on the green area, which is actually an olive green. And then I guess that's about where I'm at right now. And then I've got I've started here with this. I've got to do the copper trim around the black and then clean off the the excess black there, and that's easy enough to do actually, because all I have to do is I just clean it up with a toothpick. Basically, it comes off with just a toothpick, and then I can touch it up with the orange also. But that's what I usually do, is take it off with a toothpick, scratch it off, and then the toothpick is soft enough that it doesn't scratch the plastic, and then I can just touch up the paint a little bit better once I get all that black off of there. So that's about where I'm at right now. Next time you see it, I'll have a little bit more of the body done, and we'll see if the frame is going to be straight or not. Oh, and I should also mention, so I've also got the radiator framed and everything. If you notice, it wasn't a perfect fit in there when I cut it. So what I did is I took a strip of evergreen plastic, painted it black, and then I just glued it in place along the edges here to cover up where the radiator had the little gaps up at the top, and also where it would have a gap along the side. So now it is kind of flush, and it just looks like the radiator is recessed into there. So that worked out pretty good too. And I think I've reached that point now where it's time to start putting the major sub-assemblies together and get this thing finished. Get the interior finished, get the engine finished, get that cage built, and just get her done. And then so that's what you'll see in the next video. Thanks for visiting Toby's Sideshow of Scale Styrene. If you really enjoyed what you saw here, consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up online. Thanks again for dropping by.